Hey, and welcome to the Big Damn Podcast, the monthly peek behind the scenes of our independent film production and distribution company, Big Damn Films. Welcome, everybody, to the very first episode of the Big Damn Podcast. I'm Michael Dougherty, and joining me, as always, is the man behind the curtain, the destroyer of bombs and keeper of calendars, Logan Liskovec.
Today, we're kicking things off as we explore the roots of Big Damn Films, how we got to where we are, and our future projects.
So today's just going to be a broad chat. We're going to talk about the genesis of Big Damn Films. We're going to talk about the roller coaster ride to the Big Damn return, and then a little bit of, as this is coming out in December, a look of where we were from where we first made our announcement to where we are, and then where we're going. So, Logan,
A lot and a little to cover all at once.
that's an understatement.
And then some.
So going back to 2008. So if you're unfamiliar with Big Damn Films, in 2010, we released a little movie called Browncoat's Redemption. It was a Firefly Serenity fan film that generated $117,000 for charity, divided by 5 charities. It is a direct sequel to the movie Serenity in a la like Star Trek The Next Generation, where it's a new ship, new crew, just a little bit further in the storyline. Some familiar faces pop up, some familiar settings are discussed, and all that other fun stuff. And that genesis came in 2008 when a gentleman by the name of Stephen Fisher and I were at a Starbucks in Columbia, and he's like, "Have you ever thought about doing a Firefly fan film?" It's like, "No, now I have, because it's an impulse thing and I have issues." So from there, we went to Dragon Con. We asked a bunch of people to Browncoat's Ball and found big interest. Put out a casting call in 2009 and found our cast, started rehearsing, and filmed in 2009. Over several months, but 11 days in total filming.
And part of
And
that
that's where,
casting call is where I even found everything.
well, now you found it through Whedon-esque, right?
Yes, it was Whedonesque.com. It was kind of an online website / message board, I guess, for all things Joss Whedon at the time. And yeah, somebody cross-posted that casting call there. I guess this was probably November 2008. I guess it would have gone out. 2009, right around that
Yeah.
time.
When December 2008.
Yep.
And
That would
then
have
we
been it.
did casting in February.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at the time I'd actually made a New Year's resolution, or this led into the New Year's resolution of wanting to do more creative things. I was feeling, years out of college and no longer around theater or other stuff, so I wanted to do something a little bit more creative. I didn't want to quite get in front of the camera and act, so I was a little too chicken to go to the actual casting call. But I absolutely was there to sign up for going down to Frontier Town and to be an extra. And well, I guess you could say I stepped foot on that set, and I haven't left since.
Yeah, you kind of you met the rest of your life on that set.
I did in many ways. I met my wife on that set. Through working with you, I met the next decade of my career on that set. Which gave me all the stepping stones that I have now to where I'm at. So, and full circle, now being partners in the new company. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's responsible for very many things in my life.
I went the opposite direction. I got a divorce.
You know,
Yeah. No, so
we had a lot of
a lot of
marriages on
ups
the
and
set.
downs.
We had a
A
number of
lot
people
of
that got married.
babies.
A lot of babies on the set. We won't go too much into that.
A
Different
couple.
podcast, different show. Um, and
And not technically on the set. Nobody
not,
birthday child on set.
nobody birthed a
Although
child on the set.
although that is a goal of mine. I want to
God,
I want to
one day.
direct a birth of a child. I'm kidding.
Yes, if you're a certified doula, we will need you for future productions, just in case. Yeah, no, we had a lot of good friendships and a lot of stuff that still to this day have stuck from that film. So yeah.
Yeah. navigating the filming of Brown Coats Redemption was interesting because I had no idea what I was doing. Uh, and I say that wholeheartedly with my full chest. I was making it up as I went along and learning like as I did. Um, I got very lucky that I prescribed to the same thing of Walt Disney and Henry Ford of like find people smarter than yourself. Know what you want to do and find people smarter than yourself. So it was also the infancy of the internet. So like YouTube today did not exist. Like I would have loved to see me today like try to do brown coats because everything is at your fingertips.
Hmm.
Back then, like the idea of filming digitally was still like not even a concept most people had on an average basis.
No, and that was what had me stick around because I walked on set, and with not even 10 minutes, I was literally just stopped in my tracks because I saw somebody holding a red one, and
Yeah.
I went, I thought this was a fan film. Like your Hollywood productions are barely using these things. Like where it literally blew my mind in that minute, and I was like, all right, this is not just going to be a weekend. I need to be a part of this longer term.
And full scope, you didn't just see a red camera, you stepped onto a full-fledged frontier town.
Yes, it was the best set you could have ever imagined because it was 100% fully functional because it was a Western theme park. And we carried that
Yeah.
through, or you carried that through with everything else in there. Like, we didn't just film in a backyard, we actually got a regional park when we needed a park setting to film in. And, we didn't just, build a couple movable walls in a garage. It was a 10,000 square foot warehouse we built a ship in. Like, it was just one thing after another that just made this experience again not the fan film I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, and taking some time and reflecting on that, like what I kind of looked at it was it's you don't have a no until somebody tells you a no, so why not just ask,
Hmm.
right? So can we get Frontier Town? Well, I'd been going there from age 10 to 16, so I knew that place inside and out. I actually wrote the script with that place in mind. The only things I didn't know where we were filming were the park and the warehouse. So it's like call up and ask to see if we can do it, and
Hmm.
they were like, sure, as long as our stunt guys can be in the movie. So film the final fight scene first, so you have all of these professional stunt guys taking these awesome falls.
Yeah.
Just happenstance. Found because we had formed a nonprofit organization, found a company that was like, "Hey, well, how long do you need it? 30 days?" We're like, "Yeah, 2 months." And they're like, "Okay, well, here we'll donate it to you for that period of time." And then again, the scrapyard across the
Hmm.
street, and they were just like, "Yeah, take the scraps, bring it back." Done. So a lot of it's just asking, and that's honestly the fundamentals of independent film. Like you can get 90% of the things you want
Hmm.
if you just ask. But out of that, speaking of asking, we went to Creation Con in
Yes,
California, and Logan has a directing credit.
I do. I do have a direct. Yeah, from being an extra in I guess April to being out. When was that? That was I guess oh
September.
September or so. So not
It
even.
yeah, these were the last things we'd filmed. Like
Yeah.
all regular production
Yep.
had been done.
Yeah.
Uh, if we didn't get these things, it was no big deal
Hmm.
because we had everything we needed. But we went out with the idea of trying to get a couple cameos, and
Yeah.
boy, did we get a couple cameos.
Boy, yeah, boy, did we. Not even 5 months from going on an extra to I was in line for an autograph for Adam Baldwin, played Jane on the show,
Yeah,
and we were supposed to try and I guess get it worked out, but there was a miscommunication. Something happened earlier on, so I went up there and I was like, oh, sorry we didn't get to connect with you for so and so. We really wish we could have done a fun little scene for the movie. And he just looked and he said, well, what are you doing now? And I was like, whatever you want me to do now. And he was like, all right, well, find a place and we'll do it. And I think it was like 10 or 20 minutes when he was done with his autograph line.
right.
So I guess Heather took off and found the place.
Heather went. Well, we left Heather with Adam Baldwin, which was the
Right.
smartest thing we could do.
Yes. Yes.
And I had gone up to the room to take a nap because at that point
Yep.
we had asked Adam's people if we could do it, and they're like, "No, we don't think he'll be interested." And it was the very polite blow off.
Hmm.
And I'm like face down on the bed, and the door flies open, and Logan's like, "We gotta go. Here's coffee."
Yep. Here's coffee.
Um,
I came in with that, grabbed all the camera. We got to go now. Just get up and move. Like, put your shoes on. Maybe. Just go.
yeah. And I remember walking down the hall, and I'm
Yep.
like, "You know the scene?" And he's like, "Yep." I'm
Hmm.
like, "You know what we need him to say?" He's like, "Yep." I'm like, "Great, you're gonna do it." like,
And it's like, okay. And it was just set it up and do it and come in and it was definitely one of those. I don't quite know how to say fake it till you make it, but basically, if you act the part, you become the part. And it was just take a deep breath and pull up my big boy
oh yeah,
pants and just this is where I need you to sit. This is what I need you to do. Here's how we're gonna do this, and go. I didn't say go. I said action, but
no,
you
I'm the one that said go on first day of
know.
filming. That's okay.
um,
Um,
but yeah,
but
it was
yeah,
just you don't get anything. You what is it? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and that
exactly.
was just that one was too awesome to yeah.
And we also through Brian, who I can't remember, he did the documentary about
Brian Weiser.
Serenity. Brian Weiser.
Hmm.
We got introduced to Greg Edmondson,
Yep.
who did the score for the confession scene in the movie,
Hmm.
where the main character kind of like tells her story about how she got to where she is.
And did he do the
And
music on Firefly or Firefly and Serenity?
he did all of Firefly.
All
He
of
didn't get to
Firefly.
do Serenity.
That's right. All of Firefly.
Um, but we were sitting there and at the, in his house, in his studio,
Yep.
talking about all the stuff and he's just playing random stuff. It was the weirdest
I've still got
thing in the
that
world.
CD that he made for us around of just like, oh, this is my new stuff. Like here, it's like okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, and because we asked, we got Michael Fairman, who just happens to live down the street from Greg Edmondson and just walked into his house and
Hmm.
we filmed Michael Fairman in Greg Edmondson's studio. Uh, and again, just one right after the other, we got Raphael and Jan Fellman, who
Hmm.
played Fanti and Mingo, by asking. So there's a little stinger at the end of the movie of like getting set up for a new job because of that.
Hmm.
We had Sonny Rhodes, who sang and played the theme
Mm.
song of Firefly, actually uh, come on the set. Um, rest in peace. We're
Yep.
sad he's gone. Shauna Terpsick, another one that we said we lost. We met her, and she was like, took us on a tour of the Dollhouse set, like one of the last weekends they were filming.
Hmm.
And seeing that,
Oh,
figuring it out that we were building it, uh, figuring out how we were building it as we went, not realizing when we stepped on a set in Hollywood, when we were using 2x4s, they were using 1x2s. That's probably the only difference between our sets.
yeah, yeah. It was really amazing. Especially, I mean, sure they had a budget and there was more stuff on the front, but when we look at the back end of how it was actually structured, I mean, it was just like, yeah, you know what? We were damn close. That was good. It was awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, and then from there, went right into months long editing
Hmm.
with Andrew Lewis Marnick, who was living in, I want to say, Massachusetts at the time,
Yeah. Yep.
and I was in Baltimore, and internet in 2009, not internet in 2024.
No.
So he'd edit 2 to 3 minutes worth of the film. We'd spend an hour waiting for it to upload. I'd watch it, and
Mm.
we did this every night for several nights, and that's how the movie got edited.
No gigabyte
And
fiber there.
then no, yeah, and then from there we went right into our 2010 premiere. I mean, prior to that, we went to a bunch of conventions. Like I will say, every when I got into making Browncoats Redemption, I wanted to just be a creative. I wanted to be like the director and all that other fun stuff. And through the process, I learned I actually like the business side of things,
Hmm.
the business part of show business, and that includes like promoting and going to conventions and talking to people. And I joke to this day, I will go to the opening of an envelope if that means promoting whatever we're going to actually get to do. So leading into 2010, we had done a year and a half worth of promotion, going to conventions and all that other fun stuff. So we had a 3.5 hour long line that spanned 3 floors of a hotel at Dragon Con in 2010 for our premiere.
That was
1,400
surreal.
people. Yeah. 1,400 people. We had to like ask 300 of them to not come in because of capacity. Um, and the best part of that is that leading up to that, we kept telling Dragon Con, you're going to need a bigger room because they just wanted to put us in like a 200-person ballroom. And I'm like, we're going to, so they just tucked us away in their new hotel that they made an arrangement with where they thought nobody would show up. And yep,
Yeah.
we proved them wrong. And then we went on a year's worth of fundraising, which
Hmm.
included San Diego Comic Con, Emerald City Comic Con, talking at South by Southwest.
Oh,
Uh,
all the cons. So many
yeah,
cons.
all the cons. Where this movie gave you your life and all the fun things that went along with it, this movie gave me like I'd always dreamed of going to South by or
Hmm.
San Diego Comic Con, and I got to go and speak at them. Like never had gone to them before, and I'm standing on a stage, often with like members of our crew.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, I think there were nights or there were weekends where I would go to work on a Friday, take the train to the airport, fly to a city, promote it, sell the movie the whole weekend at there, fly back red eye, work a whole day, and then go home. Like, and that was at least once a month, sometimes multiple. I think I went to 17 or 18 conventions that year. Probably even more than that. Like, it was just incredible.
oh, I was at a convention every weekend from
Hmm.
February to November.
Yeah,
Um, there was one weekend where we had 4 conventions at the same time.
that's right. That's right. I
We
think I
were
was
at
in Houston.
Phoenix.
Oh, no, I was.
No, I think we were at
Oh, that
Phoenix.
was the Phoenix one. Okay.
We were at Phoenix. Sabrina was at like Ohio.
Hmm.
Uh, Karen and Steve were in Houston because that's the one with Sean Marr where he bought her coffee.
I was there at that one then.
Okay, then you were there at that one. Then Heather
Yep.
was with me at Phoenix.
Yep. 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 Yep.
And I think we had a Baltimore one at the same time.
Yeah, it wasn't just wild.
It was nuts.
Hmm.
Uh, and then we wrap up in 2011 at where we all started at Dragon Con, and I announce that I'm doing ZCon because I was drunk and somebody asked me at the party, "What are we doing next?" And ZCon was kind of started out of like, this is again pre days before Stranger Things and all the other fun stuff that are popular today. I wanted to see a movie like Monster Squad and Goonies, but with like a modern twist. So what happens if you go to a convention and instead of getting Concred, you got turned into a zombie? And that was the pitch for ZCon.
Feels like Concord sometimes.
It feels like Concred. Concred feels like being a zombie.
Yes.
Um, so 2012, we shoot a proof of concept.
Hmm.
Learned a very valuable lesson in crowdfunding. Uh, you can't you can't transfer audiences who like sci-fi westerns to horror comedy.
Who'd have thunk it?
Yeah. So the idea of like, hey, you liked what we did with Browncoats, we're going to do this completely different thing, didn't go over. So that very first campaign that was supposed to be $250,000 made 24, and learned the feedback was people couldn't visualize it. Like at that time, zombies at a convention, like I think The Walking Dead was still very new.
It was only their first season.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Uh, so much so that when we went to New York Comic Con to promote ZCon and all that other fun stuff, we set up a booth. We did makeup. People could come get a T-shirt, do makeup, and all of that stuff. And we had a line going around the floor, and then ended up doing a zombie walk through the thing where our zombies like interrupted the Walking Dead panel that was being filmed by MTV. Um, we did so well that The Walking Dead next year duplicated everything we did. They hired makeup artists, they brought out people, they got turned into zombies and directly attributed to like, no, there's a zombie movie that was here last year. So we filmed a proof of concept, which you can find online.
Hmm.
to help visualize it, which is essentially the middle 5 minutes of the movie. You know, the kids are already captured, or not captured, but running and hiding. The has to call his sister. We shut down a street 2 blocks away from the White House in Washington, D.C. for an evening.
Hmm.
It's great filming. And then things kind of went sideways. Uh, Not sideways. They went well for a little bit.
Oh, well, for a little bit, and then yeah.
And then went sideways. So after the proof of concept was released in August of 2013, we were waiting to try to figure out if we can get filming done. So we did a short, unreleased short called Velma vs. The Walking Dead around December 2012. Um, and then crowdfunding for pre-production and production of ZCon started, raised the money we needed to raise, started filming the movie, and then we had someone steal $31,000 from the production, um, which caused the production to get shut down. And that was 2014. Uh, in addition to that, the last 2 weeks of filming, I got into a car accident, ended up in the hospital because I don't know how to stop working. Uh, and then we just had to stop. And at the end of the year, like, I got divorced. So I put life on hold, my filmmaking life on hold for a couple years while we paid back a lot of the ZCon people that were
Mhm.
owed, a lot of the things that went into it.
Yeah. And at that point,
And then,
I wasn't able to be involved. I was a backer, financially supported and came down when I could, but I
right.
had just gotten married year and a half before and had a what was he, 2 months old, 3 months old at that time?
Yeah.
My first kid kind of came down. There's a picture. There's a great picture. I love it, where I brought him down to the ZCon set, and they had a little bit of fake blood. So Mike put a little bit of fake blood on his finger, and then Liam was 3 months. He just would, gnaw on anything put in front of him. So it looked like little baby zombie is like attacking your finger. It
Yeah.
was. I still love that picture.
I love
Um,
that picture.
yeah, but yeah, no. At that point, I was able to. I couldn't be involved as much as I had been in the past, or even wanted to, but priorities. So at that
Yeah.
point, I put my money where I couldn't be, and supported in every other way that I could, and yeah, it was rough watching from afar.
Thanks. Yeah, it was rough in the middle of it. Let me
I
tell
believe
you.
that more.
And look, retrospectively, as somebody who's almost 10 years from a lot of those moments,
Hmm.
9 from filming, 10 from like the starting of everything. Retrospectively, I would gladly go back and punch that me in the face. Um, we should not have started. Like, I should have handled my own shit before filming. Uh, Part of that leading to the divorce at the end of the year, which was amicable and things are great and wonderful. But my wife at the time was also my costume designer. She was the costume designer on Bronco's Redemption, costume designer on the Proof of Concept, and when your work life and your home life and that's all you have, like, implodes, like, shit goes downhill. So from 2015 till about 2022, even 23, I put myself through what I called film purgatory, where I felt like I had penance to make up. And this is self imposed. Lots of therapy helped me realize that this was a dumb idea. But I felt like I had to give back to other people to kind of make amends for the things that I did wrong. Uh, and I realized through that, like, I edited a feature length film and I was good at it. I edited somebody's shorts. I got people insurance for their films. I got people cast and crew for their films. I got people to help find them distribution, or at least help them self distribute. Helped people with
Hmm.
crowdfunding, and then I started to realize I'm helping all of these people do the thing that I really want to do for myself. Um, and then kind of rewinding the tape back all the way to 2009 when we were filming. John Johnson from Darkstone Entertainment and his now wife Mariah were extras on the set.
Hmm.
They were there the same weekend you were there. You could
Yep.
see, I think they'll actually see all three of you in the same scene.
That first big weekend, yeah.
Yeah. And I had known of John and, was too focused on trying to get everything done to, I made a point of stopping to say hi. And something that PJ Harisma saw when he came down, who was another one of our great cameos, the sci-fi author PJ Harisma. He's like, yeah, Mike talks to the extras, which was not normal apparently. I'm like, I, I'll talk to somebody in a white van with candy. I really don't care. But yeah, so I didn't get to have a lot of conversations with everybody, but um, in after that experience on Browncoats,
Mhm.
John went and hired Kurt and a bunch of the other people that were in Browncoats Redemption for stuff that he's filmed, and he went on to have like a nice 10-year run of filmmaking. That brings us to this year,
Mhm.
or actually the end of last year.
Yeah, end of
So I
last year.
was end of last year. So reached out to Logan. I'd been thinking about getting this thing back up and running again, wanting to finish Zcon because I don't feel comfortable making anything new until we do that.
Mhm.
So at the same time, John was running a crowdfunding campaign for Night of the Blue Moon. And I was like, hey, this is something I'm really good at. Would you like some help? Started talking to him, got Logan involved, was like, why don't we do more than just like crowdfund? And that became the first distribution deal that we
Mhm.
had.
Yep.
We agreed to a 5-year distribution deal to be renewed whenever John feels comfortable. Um, we initially were planning to start with Night of the Blue Moon, and as all things when you start a new company, nothing ever goes exactly the way that you want it to.
Pivot.
So you pivot. So we released in June, July,
Mhm.
the return of the of Big Damn Films video, kind of announcing where
Yeah.
we're going, what our plan is. Um, Part of relaunching the company, and Logan, this is where I'd love you to jump in,
Mhm.
was setting everything up so that it is a for-profit company.
Mhm.
So initially, Big Damn Films was the name for Browncoat Big Damn Fan Films, the nonprofit organization that did initially Browncoat's Redemption and the first half of Zcon.
Right.
So then we formed Big Damn Entertainment,
Mhm.
which officially launched January 1st, 2023, thanks to Heather Ackroyd, who was also there that first weekend.
Yep.
Um, and you could see her and her lovely husband David in a couple scenes. Um, got an accounting company, got all that stuff squared away,
Mhm.
and decided to make this thing legit.
Yeah. Yeah. Legit and real and scalable and one of the things that happened somewhat just a product of how things were was that as much as Browncoat Big Damn Fan Films was the company behind it, it was really Browncoat's Redemption as the image of what it was we were pushing. Like it wasn't about
Right.
the company, it was about the project. And part of the problem with that is once the project is completed, your company loses its identity. So one of the things we wanted to make sure of this time around was that we put the proper focus on the company because neither of
Right.
us want to either be a one-hit wonder or just do one more project. We're looking to make this a stable, reliable business that will carry us into the future and allow all of our creativity, both our creativity and outlet, and to bring new creativity that may not have the same resources to life.
Yeah. And look, those resources could be anything from just getting insurance to distributing the film. And speaking of setting up the company, uh, along the way, like you're working on a project that we're kind of coming into a Dark Zone project very early.
Mhm.
For a distribution company, they normally show up at the end, unless they are the company making and distributing. Like if you're Disney, you can make and distribute your own thing.
Yeah, normal distributing company takes the final DVD and says thank you and then goes and does it. They don't spend the time to work with the or don't typically spend the time to work with the director or the talent or the marketing or the publicity or anything. They take it once it's done, and that's not their wheelhouse.
Right. So getting invested with John early and helping out with Night, we kind of learned that there was an opportunity to be a little bit more supportive. So Logan and I aren't just executive producers or and distributors. We also die in our first Darkstone appearance. But not only that, but like we have a little bit more of a personal relationship with John, so we could help pivot and adjust where things are needed.
Hmm.
And part of that means we initially planned for Night of the Blue Moon to come out in 2023, but taking a realistic look at what's needed, we're moving it to 2024. But in moving it to 2024, we're not just releasing one Darkstone movie, we're releasing four. So John has two projects that we're wrapping up.
Hmm.
One that has Kurt from Browncoat's Redemption called Rifters. That'll come out at the end of 2024. We have Fright Before Christmas 2, which is right now in post production. Uh, there is a first draft of it done. And then we're going to be releasing formally Fright Before Christmas 1,
Hmm.
because that's already finished and John had just been releasing it himself. So we want to give him a little bit extra push so he can focus on filmmaking. In addition to that, we're going to go and make sure at the beginning of the year we work with John and get Night of the Blue Moon done.
Hmm.
And then that will be where we put our biggest marketing effort with a theatrical release and all of that other fun stuff. And pivot, I think, is a great word of what we've had to do this year.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think it's it's a good the beginning is a good time to be able to do that because we have the flexibility,
Right.
and we certainly have the creativity and the partners in creativity to be able to do that with, and to get uh, four movies to distribute instead of just one is going to be quite the treat for 2024.
So as we're wrapping up 2023, the first year of the return of Big Damn Films, this is our super soft launch. And when I say soft launch, I mean half the people didn't know it existed prior to October, and the company started in January 1st.
And that's fine.
And that's fine. And we were very conservative about, what we wanted to do. We have a 5-year plan. Like we have ideas and visions before beyond that. We've hit some of our goals. We've moved some of our goalposts. Uh, but all in service of making sure that we can bring the company out at the right way.
Yep, it's exciting.
It is. What other good lessons learned from 2023, Logan?
I mean, I really think 2023 was the year of flexibility and patience. And I think if you know Mike or you know us, both of those things can be difficult. Um, we we can both be somewhat type A, somewhat just very much planners. Have
Yeah.
the plan, want to stick to the plan, need to get to the plan. I do a lot of budget planning in my daily life, and the thing I love about numbers is that they're black or white. They either are or they aren't. Like you can't really screw around with them too much. So it's either this way or it's not this way. Um, but the nice thing and sometimes the thing to take the step back and enjoy as much as you can in a situation like a creative company is that things are flexible. And if you can take the time and breathe and look at everything as an opportunity instead of just, a box on your schedule you can't check, then you can end up in a better place than you would have been if you just tried to push through.
I also want to say this is the year of I Told You So. And I want to be clear for the listeners and anyone watching. That's
Mm.
not me saying I told you so. That's Logan saying I told you so. The amount of times where I'm like, nope, this isn't going to happen. So one of the things I'm trying to work through is I have become pessimistically optimistic. Whereas if 2008, 2009 me, I will. You tell me no, and I'm going to tell you 1,000 ways it's yes. And 10 years later, you tell me no, and I'm like, maybe it's no, but I think there's an opportunity for it to be yes. But I kind of see where you're coming from now. Logan has several times. Uh, I was like, okay, we're going to launch the company. Nobody's going to care. He's like, no, we're going to launch the company. And people are like, hey, I have something for you. But like,
Hmm.
nobody's going to do that. No, people did that. Uh, I had to turn a couple people away because we wanted to make sure that John and Darkstone was our first thing out the door because we
Hmm.
promised John and like staying on track and not getting overwhelmed early, which would have been easy to do, was a
Very easy.
very
Yeah.
realistic possibility.
Hmm.
Uh, you know, the pivot to Night of the Blue Moon 2024.
Hmm.
That's a Logan I told you so. Me, I'm like, no, we can make this happen. Sometimes you just got to look at the numbers and
Hmm.
pivot. But yeah, I patience and a little bit of I told you so, which is also called humility, is a long way to go. All right, so here's where we are. It's December. We're wrapping up a year. Uh, I'm closing out this year getting married. Logan is closing out this year standing next to me
Yep.
in more ways than one. Uh, and very
Though
thankful.
not as the one you're getting married to. Let me just be clear about
No, 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 no. We're no. Although Jen might not be surprised.
You
Um,
know, Katie would, but that's okay.
be like, I'll help watch the kids. It's fine.
Yeah.
Um, no, so I'm marrying Jen, and Logan is standing next to me in all things Big Damn Films. Highlights of things to come is that we're launching the Big Damn store in 2024.
Hmm.
Hats and mugs and stuff like that. Logan brought up earlier, one of the things we didn't do well was put the company first. Um, one of the things I haven't done well is put myself first as writer and director, because to me, the project is the most important thing. So that changes. That changes in the way that the company now has an identity. We have a logo, we have uh, a coffee mug, we have baseball hats, t shirts, we have an identity to go along with Big Damn Films because the identity before was just everybody in a Broncos Redemption t-shirt.
Hmm.
And it'll be interesting to me because we now go from I remember the excitement of seeing somebody in a Broncos Redemption t-shirt that we didn't know at a convention. And it was awesome because that just meant that's one more person we knew bought the movie. Because if you have a shirt, you're going to buy the movie. Now, if we see somebody with a Big Damn Films thing, that means they bought the brand.
Hmm.
And that to me is going to blow my mind probably more than anything else. And we have literally given t-shirts, Broncos Redemption t-shirts, the entire cast of Firefly and have photos of that. So like, this is going to be crazy.
Hmm.
We're launching the Big Damn Patreon. And part of the reason we're doing that is this is not crowdfunding. This is just sustainability. Like you're investing in the company and keeping the lights on and keeping things moving and getting a
Hmm.
peek behind the scenes. And once a month joining us to be a part of the conversation that is like moving the ball forward.
Hmm.
So whereas this podcast is behind the scenes, this podcast comes out 30 days retrospectively. Um, those people involved in the Patreon and supporting the Patreon at certain levels can be involved in like what the next 6 months looks like, the next year looks like,
Hmm.
and kind of act as a creative board.
Yeah, yeah. The Patreon is definitely like I said about the lights on, but very much kind of not just investing in the company, but the creativity, the brand, the future of what we're going to do. And like any early adopter, the early ones shape where things go because they're the voices that we listen to. They're the voices that we can hear, before the crowd drowns everything out. Um, it's always exciting to both interact with and get in on the ground floor of these things. Um, at least that's how I've felt when I've done it with other companies or other podcasts or other groups. To be able to have that, I'm looking forward to seeing who we meet along the way.
Yeah, I'm fascinated to see that. Scared, fascinated, same time. Good feeling. So keep in mind this podcast is going to be growing and evolving. It'll be, the next episode is going to be a conversation with John Johnson. The one after that will be in January, where we really kind of delve into what the future of 2024 will look like. And then every month it'll be a little bit more behind the scenes. So you have an opportunity to watch our company grow quarter to quarter, year over year. One of the main tenets of what we want to do is be transparent. Like, every filmmaker I know has a hard time with transparency with their distribution company and seeing where the numbers go and where the math comes out and what gets spent on that. And one of the things we want to do is be that transparent. This is how we got to X, Y, and Z. This is where we failed. This is where we succeeded. This is whether, you look at that as an opportunity to work with us, or you look at that as an opportunity to be like, hey, if these guys could do it, then I can do it. Go for it. There's
Yeah,
enough room for all of us.
we would be thrilled either way,
Yeah.
because then we have somebody else who we can partner with down the road, or you can continue to support us, and either way, we're happy.
And either way, we're still going to be doing shit.
Yep.
So, and that's the nice thing is that I think I said this. No, I said this on an Instagram post a while ago. I said it to Daniel Ross recently. It's the first time in a long time. I'm very excited about what the next year can have and the next 5 years down the line.
Oh yeah.
The fact that we're taking our time, doing it correctly, making sure we're dotting our I's, crossing our T's, not, me in 2009 that's just like, hey, let's just do this and then put it up really quickly. Uh, Paying attention to what we're doing. Not that I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing, but like, the amazing thing that 10 years gives you is perspective and knowledge. So leveraging both. And there you have it. The inaugural episode of the Big Damn Podcast. We hope you've enjoyed this glimpse into the world of Big Damn Films. My inability to shut up.
This was good. For those of you, again, peek behind the scenes. This one felt good. This one felt like
Yeah.
a lot of fun. It was nice.
Full disclosure, we had recorded
I
this
say this
episode.
one, meaning this wasn't the first one of this one we've done.
No, we we recorded this one once before. That's nearly 2 hours long.
Yeah, 45.
So
I was watching the timer actually. I was like, you know what? This feels perfect. This feels
this
good.
feels good.
Yeah. So if you want more of this, subscribe, follow us on social media. Stay tuned for more behind the scenes in upcoming episodes.
And thanks for joining us. And as always, and until next time, keep telling your big damn stories.